So you were one of the first people I've talked to on the East Coast. I did talk to a Chicago cop, and I'm curious about generational policing. In your estimation, do you find or did you find that people who went into the NYPD were their dads and grandfathers and grandparents? Were they all police officers?
There was a lot of them that were. There was a lot of them that were. Not everyone.
Mhm.
It wasn't that way with everyone. Uh, I mean, I was second generation. You know, uh, I worked with guys that their father, their grandfather, uncles, and they were. And then I worked with other guys that they were the first one in their family that were police officers, and their family hates them for it. So it's it can go either way. There are both way. I mean, I do have friends that came from cop families and friends that didn't come from cop families.
Explain to me back in the day when you applied, how did getting into the NYPD work? Did you back in the day, and can you explain, like, there were three different departments, and did you apply
Yeah.
for all those? How did that work?
All right. So back in the early 70s, New York City was going through a bad financial time, and they actually were laying police officers off. As New York City was starting to get back on its feet, it started hiring back the cops that they laid off. Wasn't until I think like 1979, I may not have the dates right, where they started giving the tests for the police department. Back then, we had three different departments in the city. You had NYPD, you had NYPD Transit, and then you had the housing. You know, so when the test would come out, if housing needed it, they'd put a test out, and guys would take the test for housing. You became a housing cop. They do the same thing with transit. And then some guys do, I had a couple of friends of mine that were in transit or in housing, and then they would take the NYPD test. And if they passed that, then they would roll over. They'd have to go back to the academy, for a short amount of time. Let's learn a different procedure or something. And their time would count over on the end. They would count over when you're going to go retire. So there was three different tests back then. When I actually took the test, there was one test for the three departments. And when you took the test, it was a lottery. So you were put in different bands. So say you were scored from 95 to 100, you were in band one. And from, 84 to 94, you were in band two. And from 70 to 84, you were in band three. And then they would do a lottery because sometimes that's, one of the departments say, well, we don't get the cream of the crop. Well, we don't get this. So we don't get that. Everybody wants to go here. So they would just pull your name out. And my brother actually scored better on the test than I did, but he ended up going to housing. I ended up scoring lower than him, but I went to NYPD and I had a better. I thought it was better. And later on, the wisdom came where I think it was Giuliani. Why do we have three departments in New York City? He combined them. So we had, everybody, it was just NYPD. No more housing, no more transit. They all became one unit back then.